That's my boy! Wimp.
I don't know why, but something is wrong.
Rule Britannia!
The TV is crazy and the truth has gone. I might be crazy, but I think we're done. There are people out there who are adverse to fun.
Communism is king.
It's on your news. Even your neighbor has been here. You can see it on YouTube. It's time to shine a light. On all the things they don't want you. Tom Generation Next. Oh, it's what's coming next. Tom Generation Next.
Commander Worf, don't be a cunt.
I'm having such a good time.
Kill everyone on the bridge.
Having a ball.
Fuck you, Mr. Rascal.
My name is Owen Jones, a renowned drama queen, pseudo-intellectual and champagne socialist.
That's for B4.
What can I do? People no longer love the truth.
Shut the fuck up.
What's true? That's why we gotta shine a light. Oh, shine a light, shine a light. We gotta shine a light. Oh, yeah. Together forever. Yeah. Tom Generation Next. Oh, it's what's coming next. Tom Generation Next. Yeah. Tom Generation Next. The Unity Channel. Zero News to now. Tom Generation Next. It's gonna shine a light. Generation X.
Good morning, everybody. Hey, Joanna. Hey, Capricorn. Hey, Steve. Good to see you. Good morning. Hope everybody is okay this morning. Tom Fury. This is Zero News. Probably quite a short one today. I've not got a battery backup or nothing. I just wanted to briefly address what did you guys think of the interview yesterday with Paul Burgess? As I said, he'd been on Zero News before. I said you knew his stuff, right? And but I think you saw from that interview that the knives. Hey, Sue! The knives weren't out for individuals. I don't think it was that kind of... Sue! That kind of catty interview. Sorry, I've got a few problems this morning. There's a lot of people around being... Sue! Sue! Come here, now. I'm sorry. Come here, now. Sit. Don't fuck about. Right, I'm so apologise. Yeah, so, as expected, knives didn't come out in a catty way, as expected. And I hope a lot of people took something from that interview. And that is that people have a right to know where their money's going. And when people are making big claims, like they're doing, when you start trying to rubbish people, I think people just deserve to know. When we've seen the centrist leanings we've seen recently, people deserve to know. Especially, even more than that, I would say what politics and what things people actually stand for, because that's what we're really voting on, right? And do you know what? The how I felt this morning thinking about it all was, do you remember when the Conservative Party were in power and they just couldn't get Brexit done, and they were just going through Prime Minister after Prime Minister, and it kind of came to light that their internal party politics was more important to them than the country, than anything else that was going on. Who was going to win the next election or the next leadership thing when they hadn't actually secured the leadership position, leading to things like, I think it was Theresa May, who had a massive majority, thought she would wipe out the Labour Party and end up letting them get back into the frame. All this internal party politics was going on at the time, which cost them so much. Because the party politics, the internal power struggle, was more important than anything that was going on in the country. And we know what a disaster the Conservative Party came out to be. What I felt like I was hearing yesterday in part, other than a group of people that are inside a bubble so much that they're separated from the people they claim to be fighting for, is that they're fighting over a victory that no one's won. They're fighting over power that nobody's got. I mean, what's the point of having power over a few WhatsApp groups and a few members if you're not engaging in the bigger fight? If you're not, I mean, he's seemingly unprepared to do certain interviews. He's proven himself unwilling to travel. At the moment, Benhabib is lashing out at everybody. I'd say he's trying to get more on track at the moment, but he still can't help it. And to me, it's like it's been revealing more and more what he can't do. I think when everybody's patting you on the back, like every politician is going to handle that well. Yeah, because that's, you know, everybody's born to win. Everybody can handle winning. What happens when you lose? What happens when you get your ass kicked? What happens when adversity is upon you? Will very much reflect the way that you might act if you're Prime Minister. What happens when someone pushes back against you? Are you gonna cry? Are you gonna withdraw and give ground? Or are you gonna double down on a hill that's not worth dying on? All of these are massive mistakes. If you're gonna double down on a hill that's not worth dying on, that you don't understand, or that is a lie, then you're doubling down exactly in the same way that left do. So, again, this is the thing about videos like what happened yesterday. They're not there to say, don't go and vote for Advance. Tribalise with us. Don't go and put your money into their members group. It is not a video to say that. I mean, it's Vin's video. What it is to say is up to Vin. But what my take out of it is what I'm getting at. Is it's more a video go, this is where your money is going. If you choose to keep putting money into it, no one's going to call you a wanker. You're more informed now than you were before. That's it. That's it. What you choose to do is up to you. But, I mean, yeah, I know Paul said that he felt that they were on the right wing. I'm not so convinced still. I'm still not so convinced. But then again, maybe it's like what I've come up against on my journey through the movement, and that's, you can't really say certain things aren't this or aren't this with labels, because you find that are genuine right-wing people mixed with centrists. I mean, that's what we've had in the movement for forever. But the centrists were always centre-right. I don't like all these labels myself. If you try and ignore the labels and don't use them, all that happens is the world will pass you by. You have to be able to designate things, especially to understand the nuance. So between centre-right and centre-left, it doesn't sound like a lot. It sounds like they're the closest to. It's actually not true. It's really not true. The difference between centre-right and centre-left is massive. But the other thing as well, like I said the other day, the idea that centrist politics is not aggressive, or that it's not, you know, that it's not as sort of maligned as other politics is crazy. Politics is politics. Politicians are politicians. You know, you have to lower yourself in order to pick power up. That is just the way it is. The way, you know, it shouldn't be, but it is. And I believe that's every politician to some extent. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong about this. But I mean, even the politicians that I spoke to that I've liked, which hasn't been that many, have said, you know, yeah, you kind of do need to play a dirty game in order to even survive. If you don't, they'll say, they've said, politicians have said to me, you can go into Parliament and not play the politics the others are playing. You could not play the dirty games you're playing. You could stick to your principles and not engage in any of it. He said, but as a result, they'll dogpile you, and they'll make sure none of your arguments, nothing you do, ever sees the light of day. You're going to join one gang or the other, and you're going to do certain things, or every cause that you care about will never get to hear the light of day, or will never get taken seriously. I think we've seen examples of that going on. But yeah, how I felt was a little bit like, what power exactly within Advance are they truly fighting over? Because it's only perceived power, right? It's only perceived power. I mean, there's no real power there other than the ability to drag in some members and create money. But until you're an actual recognised opposition with the majority of votes or counter votes on your side, they're not. I mean, unfortunately for them, they're just not that opposition. And it seems like they're in a bubble where they don't even realise that. I think maybe how it seems from the outside, and again, this is hypothesis, but it seems like from their point of view, they thought everybody in Britain knew who Advanced UK was, and that it's almost like they think that when Rupert Lowe came along and did what he did, rather than siding with them, it's like they think he's lost them a chance at legitimacy. But if you're already legitimate, you don't need that. It's like, there's two different messages being sent out. They shouldn't be bothered about Rupert Lowe if they believe themselves to be a household name. So that somebody somewhere must know they're not, is my point, yeah? But other people must not believe that to have some of the opinions they've got. I'm sorry, but they're not a household name. And what I didn't know Rupert Lowe as well as you guys did, but I've been checking around with Rupert Lowe. He is. Maybe not to everybody, but he's far more in the general mainstream public's peripheral. They know of him, they've heard of him, so much more than, say, with Advance. Even if they've heard of Advance, like who runs Advance? That's not taking the piss. That's because it hasn't seeped into the public's not only consciousness but imagination. Now, this is the other thing about politics. A lot of it is entertainment, whether we like it or not, but it's entertainment based on coming up with policies and things and doing those policies that we believe in the most, right? So you've got all these other parties, and I think this is what's going to happen the way we're going at the moment if somebody doesn't change things. The way the electorate are going at the moment is the electorate is speaking by who they're backing, and they are backing Rupert Lowe when it's on the right. Vast majority. And yet you've still got parties that I would consider perhaps in the middle, but let's say for argument's sake that they're on the right. Still got parties, and I'm not going to include UKIP in this, but still got parties that are not particularly right-wing, not particularly sending out inspiring messages, and the country is not inspired. Let's be honest, regardless of name, value, size or anything else, the country's not been inspired. It never really has been. It was just better than what we had to some people. It was a new hope for some people. But everybody kind of subconsciously knew, it's not going to work out. We backed a lot of things before, but at the same time going, it's not going to work out. Like me and Vinna said before about picking the best of evils, and that may actually happen in 3 years' time. We may still be picking the best of evils for at least an election. But if we can move politics, ironically, even to the centre, it'd be moved far away from where it currently is at the moment, because we are at a ridiculous level. And again, I really hope someone's take Starmer to court when he's out, which I hope will be June, and get him done for crimes against humanity. And what he's done, he's race baited an entire country, not only with his words but with his policies. When you see, you had someone on his podcast the other day saying that people in this movement were trying to elevate their colour over other people's, and that's totally wrong. They were trying to protect an indigenous species that is under threat. Everybody knows this. Even, it doesn't matter what colour your skin is, you know this about Britain. Black people are more willing to say it than white people because black people don't feel racist saying it, they're just stating the truth. So black people are more likely to say, white English people are disappearing. So, but how it was presented was totally different from that. And again, you got to ask why, and I think it's because I think what I'm seeing is, again, my opinion, I'm seeing parties telling you you're wrong. And this is what we've seen from the left over the last decade in Hollywood. You're wrong for not liking this movie. If you don't like this movie, you're toxic. Whereas the customer is always right has been replaced with the customer is misogynist if he doesn't like this product, or the customer is a bigot if he doesn't like this product. We've had that going on through Hollywood, we've had that going on through politics, had that going through natural discourse, and now we've got it here. The same thing. And it's that, and we really should be now way above this simple tactics of smearing people, and I think we are. This is what I think I've noticed is people are interested to know what's going on with the Branch UK, one way or the other. They just want to know the truth. That's fair enough. But generally speaking, I think people otherwise have picked their right-wing poison of choice, for now at least. And I believe what other people say is true, and I'm on this bus with them. I don't believe, especially in the position we're in at the moment, I don't believe loyalty towards a party is the best strategy. And again, that's why I totally disassociate myself from any tribalism. And it's why I'll say to you, if I back Rupert Lowe, which I'm kind of doing, it's conditional. It's conditional. What he's doing at the moment is what I'm backing. If it changes, or he backs down or whatever else, and then my backing would disappear. So these people have got to always be held to account. That's why I won't go and join and be a member. They're already got record membership. I want to give time for this to breathe, to see what happens over the longer time. And I'm not going to give another party free money. They're going to have to earn it. They're going to have, and I realise they need it for campaigns and stuff like that, but they're going to have to earn my trust, because politics as a whole has lost my trust completely, totally, and I'm hanging on by a thread to try and believe that we can vote our way out of this, and it's a hard belief to swallow. I'm struggling with it, if I'm honest. Every day I'm saying, can this really be? But I also know we have a duty to try, no matter what. We have a duty to try, because the only other options probably involve violence. So we have a duty to try for that reason, if only for that reason. But that's why we cannot afford any longer to have politicians, news readers, or anybody in this movement telling you what you are, telling you are wrong. I remember this movement when we used to actually care about what the people thought, and we would carry out the will of the people. We would pressure other groups to carry out the will of the people. Since when was the day that we started lecturing to them and telling them what they should and shouldn't think? When did that start happening? When did we start calling people traitors for not doing what we want? Like, we really need to, and I see a lot of videos coming out saying, the movement's not unified, it's arguing. Honestly, I don't see it like that. I see, there's a mess going on over in the centre, which will get cleaned up, it always does. But I see, to be honest with you, the biggest galvanisation of people I've seen in a long, long time. Because, okay, so let's say Tommy comes along, he'll pull a load of people in because of who he is, right? And somebody else might come along, but I haven't seen quite a movement that pulls people from both in the know and supposedly out the know at the same time. Rupert's got a gravitational field around him, and it's powerful. And that's all I can say, it's powerful. So he's not someone you can ignore, dismiss, or whatever else. You just can't. He's too operational, he's too good, he carries a kind of aura, and he's already in the public's consciousness. That was going to be the biggest problem, getting anybody in the public consciousness. He's already part there, and he's got 3 years to ram that message home. And so I think all he needs is a lot more exposure now, as in people need to see him in action a lot more. Because just watching him the other day on the videos I watched, he's very good at what he does. And unlike some other people who seem to be dithering a lot at the moment and tripping over themselves to try and prove things, this man doesn't buckle under pressure. Not yet, not that I've seen. I've yet to see the day when he does. So, always open to be proved wrong. But my point being is that this low level, which it is, this is low level politics at the moment, it's a walk in the park to him. Whereas when I'm looking at certain other parties, it seems to be that they're already redlining. Like, they're already struggling with the political atmosphere. And that's why allegations, that's why all this other stuff's come out. It's gone badly wrong. Most professional political parties would have either apologised or gone quiet and carried on with policy. But they can't leave it. They keep trying to double down. When you do that, you actually will turn public against you if they can see straight through you. So it's like, it's a really bad strategy. I don't know who is coming up with this strategy, but if they want to survive, they need to completely disengage from what they're doing and engage in their politics and sell themselves to the people. It's the only way they've got to survive in. I've got to be honest, for me personally, after what I heard yesterday, I already pretty much thought it was dead, but it wasn't, you know. I mean, the college, for instance, what a joke. What a joke. Why wouldn't you, rather than have that embarrassment sat there, taking up space, taking up a name, why wouldn't you just come up with a reason for closing the college? If it didn't do what you wanted it to do, just close the thing. No one can then say anything bad about it. You say, oh, it's not what I thought it was going to be, close it down. But no, you leave it open because you want that, I'm presuming it's because you want that air of believability about it still. But so you want the air of believability without actually doing anything believable. Again, this is unbelievable. If these people claim to know the risks of the next election like we all do, like the far left Green Party in power, and what that will effectively mean the end for this country, because we already can't survive to the next election, right? We can't buffer 2 elections. And these people are more, it seems, more interested in sitting, arguing over race, party politics, who's in charge, who can say what. We don't have the time for this. We don't have the time for this. And this is exactly why. I'm not going to tell you, I hate Ben Habib, I hate these people. I don't know any of them. I am going to tell you they're wasting my fucking time. And I do think, I mean, unless they say something really stupid, I don't think there's much point me covering them anymore. Other unless it's to expose anything stupid that they're saying. But don't get me wrong, if they turn things around and suddenly become brilliant, yeah, fine, I'll cover them again. But at the moment, I just feel like it's a whole bunch of negativity. Like, every time I talk about it, I'm trying to be, like, positive about it, but it just brings up a whole bunch of negativity. You can't avoid it. Because it's rooted in negativity. Like, some subjects you can talk about and make them lighter, but the whole thing's rooted in negativity. How is that healthy in politics, you know? They're trying to push us into a place where you're all wrong again. You've had that for years. We've had that for years. I say we've all had that for years. Being made wrong for our vote, being made wrong for this bit, and now, you know, people who are supposed to be on our side doing the same thing to us. Because you realise, of course, right? The way this movement works, always has done, is guilt by association. So if you can make a certain group hated by enough people, then anybody who associates that with that group will also be taken down. So, effectively what's happening is, without people realising it, is no matter who's saying it, when someone calls Rupert Lowe racist party, they're effectively calling the people that want to vote for him racist as well. They won't actually come out and say that, although certain people have come very close to it, if you may have noticed. But you don't get the support of the amount of numbers that Rupert Lowe does from racists, because you'd find there just wasn't enough. There's just not enough in the country, I'm afraid. There's just not enough. So, yeah, I think it's, I don't know. In some ways it's sad, because like I said to you, the more choice we've got in politics, I think the better. People talk about splitting the vote and all this other stuff. People talk about splitting the vote and all the other stuff, but I still think right-wing parties, they've done it before, and left-wing parties have done it, where they come together to form a coalition if they need to. If they think that's going to happen, you know, they can use their heads and do that. So that doesn't necessarily spell the end of the world, you know, splitting the vote, so to speak, because there are plenty of moves around that. And if, as some parties claim, their politics is identical, then there wouldn't be any problems, would there? And this is the thing with Rupert Lowe. Why didn't he decide to go in and fix Advance? Why didn't he decide to go in and really tweak it and get it right in there? He must have thought this is an uphill battle I don't need. We've got 3 years. You know, again, I'm guessing. Don't take that as, you know, but yeah, I don't know. Anyway, where are you guys up to? What do you think of all this stuff? Oh, hey Ben, how you doing, buddy? Good to see you, bud. Good to see everybody. Steve, Bluebell, everybody. If I don't see your name, obviously you know what the score is with YouTube, yeah? Yeah, I think someone said about reform, you know, I think it was Vin actually. Vin said you could end up with a situation like reform being in power at the next election. It's actually really possible. If you look at reform's voting numbers, at the moment, it's best not to judge them at the moment, because right now you've got a new party on the scene, lots of excitement, blah, blah, blah. 3 years is a long time in some ways. So, with that in mind, Farage has been, I'm not defending him, I'm just stating the truth. Farage has been put in a position where, he's going to lose all of his support many times since he opened that party. And the fact of it is, up until now, he only lost about 3% at his worst. So there's a lot of hyperbolic stuff being said about Farage. Now, why people like me don't want him in power, I think some of us think, well, if it's that, the Green Party or Labour, we go reform, because at least it's a step in the right direction. The danger of that is obviously that politics can go back in the direction it came from. Yeah, but we've seen from old Nige that he is a true conservative deep down. He's never really hidden that. And we know that he will back down to Islam. He's already said if we take on Islam, we'll lose. So therefore, let's cow down to them. He didn't say that last part, but that's what it effectively means, doesn't it? If we take them on, we'll lose. Well, hang on, you'd be in government, why would you lose? You'd be in government, why would you lose? Qualify that. If there's something you need to say about this country, say it, so we can all understand where the power really is. Or, if that's not a conspiracy theory, then explain yourself. Why would they win? And why wouldn't we take them on if they've got rape gangs, grooming gangs? And why wouldn't we take on, more to the point, why wouldn't we take on anybody that was doing that? Farage would take them on if it was a bunch of white people, wouldn't he? As we all would. Yeah? So, why must we back down to 5% of the population? Do you know what amazes me with the left and people who pretend not to be on the left? They all like their identity groups and their tribalism. But they also decide who's not allowed to have an identity group or any tribalism. It's an irony beyond ironies. You're not allowed to have an English race, British race, you're not allowed to have anything like that. But they will protect every other group. Every other group. Other than the Jewish, they don't get protected either. But other than that, they'll protect every other group. Although, if you noticed, have you noticed how they've stopped protecting the trans as much? It's not giving them a good PR look. And a lot of the left are actually abandoning the trans people that they were banging on the drum for. By the way, a lot of the trans people, if you ever speak to them, never actually wanted that kind of exposure. They never wanted the politics. That's why you don't see very many trans people on talk shows being entitled. You've only ever seen a few, right? The rest of them are people talking on their behalf. A lot of them consider their sexuality very private and they don't like talking about it. That's like most of us, right? That's more normal. What you got again is a bunch of virtue signalling white people going up in college campuses and stuff and other places saying we need to fight for trans rights, when there's probably been about 6 complaints from trans people. And as for trans people in sports, it's very simple. There's a reason, and let me just bring it down to this little argument here. There is a reason why there is not a queue of women trying to transition into men's boxing or MMA. because they know they would be at a disadvantage and could get badly hurt, potentially killed, for trying to cross that barrier. Even with testosterone and everything else, different body build, everything else, right? So no women are queuing up to get on the men's side, men's teams. However, there's a big old group of men around in their 30s, so they failed the career as a man. So they're in their 30s, they're in their 30s with a failed sports career, but being in your 30s means you've still got a bit of time. So they suddenly decide that they're a woman. And there is a massive queue. Converse to the women's queue trying to come over to men's. There's a massive queue of men trying to go over to women's combat sports. We saw a woman rush to hospital in MMA, we saw a woman rush to hospital after an MMA bout, a champion who was absolutely brutalised due to this. And we've seen in other sports, they're absolutely lining up to join these other sports. And bear in mind, to be an athlete, I think a lot of athletes will tell you this, you've got to be a bit delusional, because you've got to believe that you're better than everybody else, which statistically you're unlikely to be. But obviously you have to have that belief to prove it. So they are, and they also are people who are likely to believe in cults and things like that because of the way that they've been wired to train. So they're wired to win at any cost. That's why you see steroids being used, but it's also why you're now seeing men transition into women's sports at any cost, even your sexuality. And that's what is really going on, and it's so obvious. That's why I said that's why there's not a big queue of women looking to get into men's sports, because they know what would happen. But so do the men going into the women's sports. And here's the thing, women and men by their side fought for women's spaces, privacy, freedom, everything else for years and years and years. And they got it. And a lot of these guys, I saw something yesterday, it said, this guy told someone he wasn't allowed to use his bathroom at work, as they call it bathroom in America, right? And the guy had to be corrected and said, no, wait. That's not true. This is the problem with the narrative that comes out. You're saying not allowed to use the bathroom. That's not true. Not allowed to use the women's bathroom because you've got a dick. That was the truth. So he was allowed to use the bathroom. He just wasn't allowed to go in with his big dong and sit amongst a bunch of women who, again, have fought for that private space, not to have men sitting glaring at them. And the thing of it is as well, you could say, well, they're not what makes you think they're sitting glaring at them? Because most of these people get a sex change and lo and behold, they become lesbians. So you've turned into a woman so that you can fuck women and you're originally a man. I think there might be a plan behind that. Especially as the ones that seem to be doing it are really fat and unattractive to women. Not all of them, obviously, but you can never blanket everything. I'm just talking about the worst case examples that bring the most negative PR to it. And like I say, there's very few of them. I think a lot of people, and so I'm more, this is what I mean, I was talking to you about yesterday, day before, just about where we've come in 15 years, and I think this is something that Rupert Lowe and all these other parties need to look at as well. We need to stop, and I think they are with the transgender sport on that, but we need to stop enabling parents and enabling children to transition before they even understand what sex is. We really do. Every kid, when they were young, said, Dad, I want to be a girl, or Mum, I want to be a boy, and they go, yeah, well, you can't. And that's it. Conversation over. These days, it's you can be anything you want to be. It's just like, no, within reason, like, stop. If you're encouraging them when they know no better, that's like not telling them that gravity exists, so they can go out and just hit themselves on every surface. It's just, come on. They don't even know, and the thing of it is, some of these parents try and make it, oh yeah, he made the decision when he was 6. Okay, so you made the decision for him when he was 6 then. You'd encourage him into it until he said, oh, Mummy, Daddy, I want to be... And I've seen it. I've actually seen the people doing this. It is a kind of slow brainwashing of their own kids. I don't know if they know that they're doing it, or if it's if it's subconscious. I truly don't. So I don't want to accuse them of doing it absolutely deliberately, but there's a theory in the gay community, and I don't know if it's true, but there's this theory that, and again, there are people who genuinely feel like they're in the wrong body and all that, right? So I'm not dismissing them, but there's a theory in the gay community that there's still a stigma about having gay children. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but especially in America, they seem to think there's a big stigma still to having a gay son, particularly a gay son. Again, I don't know if that's true. And they seem to think that a lot of the transgender thing is like the transgender people are being embraced more readily than gay people in terms of at root level, at family level, at neighbour level. Again, I wouldn't know if that's true. So they seem to think that it was less shame on the parent to have a transgender child than it was to have a gay child. Therefore, that's why they were pushing what would have been an otherwise gay child, perhaps, into a transgender role. Again, I don't know the truth of that. It was just noticeable that so many people in the gay community were coming out and saying these things when a lot of these people weren't really activists or posting much about any of this stuff. They just picked up on stories that went past. I don't know if you remember Milo's story, but it was very similar, actually. He got cancelled, and he was a dick. He got cancelled, but he actually got cancelled for kind of admitting that he was sexually abused. But because he kind of tried to make a joke of it, it went completely wrong. I was on Joe Rogan's. But yeah, I actually understood exactly why he made the joke that he did. I don't know if you remember Milo or not. He's a dick. He is annoying. But he wasn't necessarily wrong. He was trying to admit to being sexually abused whilst not acting like a victim hurt, because you could see he didn't want to be portrayed like that. So, and you could tell it weakened him in some way. So he kind of said, oh, I was the predator there. Oh, let me assure you, at 14. Of course, you can imagine that didn't go down with people. And he's really never been accepted back since. But it's not just that, it's because of all the other shit that he's pulled as well. But the truth of it was, he was a right-wing person, admitting to being sexually abused and handling it the only way he knew how. And it was just a way of cancelling him. If someone on the left had said that, yeah, they would have been expected to apologise and everything else. Then they would have been coddled and made a symbol of why wokeism matters, you know? What I'm trying to say is people pick and choose what they care about. People, you know, if you pick and choose what you care about overnight and things that you care about change overnight, you never really cared about them that much in the first place. And I'd say, look around you at the proof of that, you know? Look around at the people and that. There's so many, YouTubers created so many plastic people, both creators and people in this world alike. And we've got to realise that we may be irritated with some of our countrymen, some of the plastic people, but at the end of the day, we're still a people, and we're people that have been put through a non-Brexit, multiple lockdowns, constant austerity that never really ended. Like, we've been put through a lot. It's not because it's not like a world war or anything. We don't think we've been put through a lot, but we've been psychologically attacked and weakened for about 20 years. It's not, what's going on now is not innocent. And it's like, this is why people are sitting up and noticing now. Hang on a minute. Every election you said you're going to cut down immigration and it's accelerated. People are, it's now impossible to hide. Not just because there's cameras around the country, although I would say to you, this is why we need cameras on the streets. Not ones that are going to cause trouble, ones that can just take the view in. Because sometimes the view is enough. Sometimes the view is enough to make people go, that's where? Holy shit, I was there 8 years ago, it didn't look like, That can be enough. So people need to pick up the cameras, It doesn't always have to be about being famous and having a big channel. It's about showing what you can show. And if there's something just down the road from you think people need to see, show it. Show it. People need to understand that this is not a fringe thing. Because you've still got a lot of people living in relative luxury that still like to pretend this problem isn't real. Because it's not getting to them. Although they probably don't realise a lot of the perpetrators are actually living in the middle class houses around them. And I mean that totally sincerely. But yeah, they need to be shown, because by the time it gets to their doorsteps, it will be too late. So, anyway, how are you guys doing? So have a look. Tina, good to see you again. Urban Roots, good to see you, mate. But no, just to clarify, no man can be a woman. Yeah? It's just to clarify, regardless of whether I think the trans community has been misrepresented by other people. No, just to be very clear, I don't agree with the principle of it in terms of, no, you're not a woman. You're a man that's mutilated yourself. That's it. Like, you don't get special access or privileges. You shouldn't get special treatment for mutilating yourself, because that encourages more people to do that. Yeah, what we do is see, I don't want to get too much into this, but the left did this. See, this is what the left did. Let me just finish on this. With transgenderism, the left did what they always do. Good intentions, right? So what they did was they saw a group of people where one or two of them said, hey! Well, one or two of them said, I'm being oppressed. That's it. Just a few people said, I'm being oppressed. Because I can't go and sit and spy on ladies. So these people have seen this massive injustice. And just like the left do, they've rushed to elevate these people. Not make them equals, elevate them above everybody else. And in doing so, it's like I've always told you about like a little allegory with a mouse, where the left just sees a mouse in the middle of the road and says, I'm going to do something really virtuous and good now. And he jumps into the middle of the road and he saves a mouse. In doing so, he causes a 9-car pile-up and kills every single passenger and driver in the cars. Oblivious to this, he'll still double down, hold up the mouse and say, I saved the mouse in virtual triumph. This is the left. So, we know that the mortality rates, the suicide rates for the transgender community are very high. At one point, people were saying 40%, although I don't know if that's so true now, but it's still very high, much more than the national average, which is already too high. So they didn't look at what caused it. There's no science involved. They didn't look at whether encouraging this would actually have a larger negative effect on the more people who did it, which it has. There are now charities set up to help people detransition, because they felt like they were almost pushed into it. A lot of them are now saying, I kind of feel pushed. My parents, the doctors were not putting me off. They were kind of saying, yeah, great, it's great. So there are charities to detransition people now. It didn't take, those charities appeared 5 years ago. So you think how long the transitioning stuff's been going on. It took maybe 5 years after it started to get really started mainstream, to get people already opening charities to reverse the results. That speaks volumes, doesn't it? And this is the left and the people that support them all over. They will jump based on feelings. There's nothing wrong with feelings. I'm not all in with the facts over feelings all the time, because at the end of the day, you need feelings to make you want to act on the facts, right? So it's not that feelings are useless, but when you use feelings with no reason and no research and no accuracy, you're trying to hit a dartboard with a mallet. Do you know what I mean? Come on, and that's the sort of world we find ourselves in. And that crazy little batshit world there, now turn everything I've just said into racism. Think how batshit crazy it is, and now look at the situation we're in right now. I reject the notion that the left is infighting, except for the people that want to engage with each other on their channels and fight between channels and all that stuff. And I've only seen a little bit of that. Obviously, a lot of that's between people who already had a grudge and they were just looking for an excuse. But beyond that, I don't see it. I think there's a lot of, empty vessels make the most noise. And you've got, when anywhere on YouTube, it doesn't matter about the movement, whether it's in the movement, out the movement, anywhere on YouTube, you're always going to have more creators than people, right? So the creators are making the most noise. So again, you've got to just watch us to make sure that we don't accidentally create or steer a narrative rather than the truth. keep an eye on all of us. I'm not going to say, oh, trust me, you know, keep an eye on all of us. Make sure it's truth over narrative every time. Like, you've been fed comfortable truths or uncomfortable truths for a long time now. And I think people just want authenticity truth, even if it's uncomfortable. I know I do. I know that's why I started this. Like, even if I don't like the truth, I want it. I want it rather than a fake idea of where we are and what's going on. We just go over here. I'll look at your comments and I'm going to sign off. Come on, here. Go. Sorry. Right. Black rights, there's nothing wrong with black rights. Why do you say human rights? Again, why do we need specialised rights for specialised colours of skin? We just need rights, human rights. Again, this is what I said about certain communities before. If human rights aren't enough for you, then it sounds like you want extra fries on your plate. It sounds like you're saying, I want a little bit extra than everybody else. Human rights protect all of us. And I want people to understand something about Britain as well. Go. I want people to understand something about Britain as well. From everybody from Mike Tyson to Muhammad Ali to Michael Jackson, there's a reason why they loved coming to Britain. All of them. And many more black stars used to love coming to Britain. Why? They used to say to themselves, with all the sort of racial tensions that can be in America, all of them said that when they came to Britain, they were not a black star. When they came to Britain, they were just a star, like every other movie star, sports star. All of them came to Britain again and again because they knew that we weren't racist here. You can find, again, Muhammad Ali. I just named the three biggest: Muhammad Ali, Michael Jackson, and Mike Tyson. But there was more. There's a list of about 5 or 6, maybe 7 of them. And yeah, these are all black people that came to this country. And loved coming back here because of the lack of any racial tensions. They were not seen any differently. So, and there's, going around on YouTube now, you can find them. There's old training exercises for the military, the US military. Well, the US military have to be told, look, Brits are not like us. They're more tolerant than we are. So basically, don't attack black troops. Yeah, like black British troops, like they're equals. And they had to be told that in their training videos. So I'm not like having a go at the Americans here, by the way. I'm just pointing out that this idea that this country's been forever racist, and for a very long time people have been coming here for the opposite reasons, you know. That's why I can't take any of these arguments seriously. It's why these arguments about, oh, this party's racist, that party's, this person's racist. Yeah, we've heard it all before. Races are pretty obvious because they don't hide. People think they hide it. They don't. That's the thing. They don't. They can't. Yeah, I do only see the top chat. I'm on a studio. I'm broadcasting to Getter as well at the moment. Hi, Getter. So I don't see all of the chat that comes through. A lot of it is filtered away from me. The same as it is for you. If you come on here and you don't come out of top chat, then you cannot see all the comments. It's the same for me. The creators have lost control of our channels. We don't control them the way we used to. We don't have control of the moderation. We don't have control of a lot of things anymore. So yeah, and they don't. YouTube used to work well with other platforms. They won't play with other platforms anymore. So yeah, Tom, yes, the training videos World War II about behaviour. Yeah, exactly those. There's a guy who played Mickey. I forget what his real name is. The guy who played Mickey in Rocky, in the Rocky movies. He's actually in the training videos. So you couldn't mistake him. If you see him online, he's in them. So yeah. Thank you, Steve. You're a good man. Right, guys. So I can't see any questions. So I've gone on a little bit, and I do apologise for going through subjects. But at the same time, sometimes it's nice to go through subjects. I don't want to keep getting stuck on advanced, on centre right. You know, it's important to discuss it while it's going on, but I don't want to get stuck on it. We've got activism to do. We've got a whole country to hold together, and we've got some important subjects still to talk about, discuss, and perhaps put pressure on parties towards this next election and what other things we want done, you know. So we need to keep our feet on the ground. We need to keep getting out there, doing stuff. We need to keep doing what we do best. Otherwise, we've been distracted away from Starmer. We've been distracted away from a lot of issues that matter. And that's the only time when it does become infighting and when it does become dangerous to us. It's when it stops us from going out and doing what we do best. When it stops us from going out on the streets or even just making content that makes a difference or gets people to think about other stuff. So, you know, I think that's majorly important, no matter what's going on, to never forget why we're here. I just think that we all realised when we got to this point that's happened recently, oh shit, this is a roadblock that we need to get through one way or the other. We need to make people aware of what this is, because otherwise they're going to get stuck at this roadblock rather than just go over it. And I think that's what we needed to do. We just needed to go over it. And people realised as soon as they get the other side, it wasn't really a roadblock at all. It was just a bump in the road, you know. So I think that's what we need to do. We need to move forward together. And we need to keep that solidarity rather than unity. Yeah, it's just about having a reasonably similar arrow pointing in a reasonably similar direction. We're not all ever going to be carbon copies of each other, and nor would we want to be, right? So we're always going to be thinking differently to each other. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with being different. That is why we don't buy the identity politics. Because we reserve the right to be individuals and have our own ideas. But it doesn't mean we can't all point in the same direction. We've done it before. Like I say, all the arrows are going to be slightly pointing differently because we've all got our own unique perspective. That's fine. The general overall direction is the same. We're good to go. People don't need to be embracing each other and swapping bodily fluids on a daily basis for the movement to be okay. It really doesn't. People have got a flowery idea of what the future really holds. You need to see people battling at the moment. You need to see people battling over policy. You need to see people battling over the country. You need to see that at the moment. To see the passion, to see that it really exists, to people that see people really care rather than worrying about their stupid party politics or their own personal brand of politics that they want to ram down your throat. You need to know who's here for the right reasons. You need to see that passion. You need to see that truth. We all do. We all do. And I think this is a great time to put up or shut up in terms of what you stand for. Excuse me. You know, like I said, if this had all been happening a few years ago, I doubt someone like me would have made a video about any of it. It wouldn't have been interesting enough. What's made it kind of all come, more importantly, is because of the timing of it. You know, we really can't afford to be losing elections at this point. We really can't. We're in so much dire trouble, and that's the only thing that's really got me involved in all this. Is we're being demonized by some people who are supposedly on our own side, and we don't have time for it. I hate saying we've got a country to save because it's so lefty sounding. Oh, we've got to save the world. But unfortunately, it's I don't know what other words to use. The country's going down fast. So what other words are there? If not save it, yeah, I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to call it quits there. Hey, my Dixie wrecked. I certainly can give you a shout out. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you to any new subscribers. If you've left any comments I haven't got back to you, I do apologise. I will do. I do try to. I'm just, I've been doing a few things over the last couple of days. Hey, Michelle Beavers. Good to see you. Adrian Monix, is that? It's cool names, actually. Thank you. I appreciate you. People agreeing, disagreeing, I appreciate it. Tom, yep, I've warned about every day. Oh, yeah, that's where I got to earlier, I think. Yeah, no, good. So again, remember this, a lot of comments I will not see on here until I go and watch the process version, because again, Google don't play well with others. So yeah, when I'm using the studio, that happens, unfortunately. But I think I'm going to call it quits there. It's gone on far longer than I intended it to, and we covered far more subjects than I intended to. But thank you so much for watching. Next time I will I've got a few things actually lined up, so I'm not going to blow it now. So I will catch you next time. I'm Tom Fury. This is Zero News. I'm calling it a day for now. Thanks for watching, guys.